It's time to start a new Junkling. And I've got a couple of hero pieces that I'm really excited about. They're these little gum containers that I love the bubble shapes of them. So I got inspired of thinking about those as legs or arms and started playing around with how that would work. I love the idea of sort of going like a Michelin Man direction, all round edges rather than sharp and square, which is something I haven't done in a while. So I started playing with that, and I thought an old Easter egg would work great, especially if it's inverted, so it's got the bell shape at the end. I knew that I wanted to keep a small waist since the legs are going to be so bulky. And then I got this Easter egg candy shell thing that I loved, and I thought the idea of it having sort of a humpback and it bending forward, sort of being like this lurching bubbly thing, was a good idea. So that's what I started running with. So let's mock up a little bit and work on some ideas that we may have. Just going to use some museum putty to put together before you even move into glue, just to see if this is going to work as I want it to. So I love how wide these legs are, and I needed a narrow waist here that will be on a magnet so it can turn and everything, but that way it doesn't go too far outside of the width of the egg. So I like that portion. I like what that looks like. Then I had a couple of 3D prints. These were supposed to be light bulb, look like Christmas lights ornaments that I was going to hang around the house, and you can see it shifted off. But I thought that that would be a really interesting arm shape. And then I had these caps that used to be Lego pieces or Lego-like pieces to a succulent model. And I thought, oh man, it could be like samurai-like shoulder pads. So I'm in love with how that looks. So I made two of them, and now I think I've got my arms. So let's mock up what we think that might look like. Figure out what height I want them to be at. So I'm thinking I want it to remain somewhat low. And obviously it's still going to need elbows and arms and hands and all that, but I really like that effect. I think that looks really cool. So I think we're working with something. And then last, I found this piece out on a walk. I think it was like an air freshener piece. Well, I know it was an air freshener piece because it stunk like crazy. I had to clean it out a bunch of times. But it has these plastic inserts into it, which I'm going to fill with like a sparkly resin. And then it looks like eyes sitting behind the mask. Plus it's already got these vent-like shapes in it. Ooh! That as a face, and it kind of, again, lurching out of its body to look like a, I don't know, a neck piece or something. I think that looks really cool. So let's mock this up and make sure that that's the vision that I'm looking for and to place it correctly. And once I get that all done, it's time to start sanding up and gluing. See if we can't get this guy built pretty quick. You can see I made some pencil marks. I was originally thinking about just putting eyes there, but then I found this face piece. I'm just in love with that. So I think this is what we're looking at. Big humpback. I'm hiding the label until I sand it off. Look at that side profile. It's so thick and bulbous. Yeah, this is what we're talking about. Okay, I think we've got our concept. Time to roll. got my shoulders worked out, ground down a couple of the stubs that were there so that I could glue, and then mounted them up. I'll fill that later maybe. And I just drilled pilot holes to put my attachment pins in. So we'll do those now. Got this great face piece with this insert that was a air freshener, I think, something like that. But these plastic pieces that go inside of it would be a great candidate for a resin fill to make some cool eyes. So I made a mock-up of this swirl pattern that I wanted to do, and I tested it on a couple of different colors based on the color scheme that I'm going to be playing with, and it really makes the swirl pattern stand out. So I think I'm going to go with this navy background because it really makes the light catch that swirl coming through it. So we're going to go ahead and make that for the rest of this eyes. That should be enough for a swirl. So we're going to go around the outside, which is a little tricky because the shape is weird, and then spin the opposite way through the center. Okay, can't see it much here. We're going to go cook it and then paint the back. Time for hands and feet. So I've been playing around with mocking up some more ideas around here. I had these plastic pieces, I'm not even sure what they were, but I like that they were domed, so I cut it in half and then ground out the shape so that it would fit onto the toes a little bit better and look like toe beans. So you can see the bottom sides are open, so I'm going to have to play with some epoxy sculpt to get that together. And then for the arms, I like the length of this, and I ground down this section in the middle and put a magnet in it, and then I took these wooden balls and put magnets on both sides, so now that if I put a hand here, it can be resting down, or it can now face up. So this will act as a elbow joint. And I thought that was pretty cool. Then I've got these hands, which I think are pretty cool, except they're too sharp and pointy. I want them to be round and sort of bubbly like the rest of the body. So that's what we're going to do next. Make these round, play around with getting them to fit here, and filling out this section. We'll go from there. Okay, so I like how much rounder they are and less grabby. I'm going to set these under a lamp and let them cure for a while, but I really like how that looks. I think that fits more what I'm looking for. So, onto the toes. Okay, I've put a little bit of epoxy sculpt around the edges of the biceps, let's call it. Mounted 2 magnets so that I get a straight position and a bent position. So now I just need to attach my hands, which you can see I've put a guiding anchoring wire into. And I decided that I really needed to make the fingers way more bubbly, so I put a couple layers of resin and then decided that it still needed more, so went with the epoxy sculpt. And now I really like the fingers. I think they look pretty neat. So let's attach it and mount it to the elbow pieces, I guess we'll call them. And that way we'll get them into position. So let's do that. I think that's as good as we're gonna get, so we're gonna let them dry. Hands are done, they look great. Snap into place, gives me multiple positions. I think that's cool. Last step before base coat is I need to attach the hip pieces. So we gotta figure that out, and I think I need to stuff them with some stuff first so it'll fit correctly. So that's what I'm working on. Perfect. I need to fill this gap. Maybe these, but I might leave those just to see if I want to attach anything after. This is going to be painted separately. I've already filled this with some craft foam, but that's too big of a gap. So I have the remnants of some playing cards. I've already measured out what I think it's going to be. We're going to cut and glue. This will give me the advantage of having flexibility to bend into that shape, so I don't have to fight with it to fit ideally. Should just be able to, yeah, see, snap it into place like that, put a little glue on it, and we should be good. I want to keep the eye insert in while I glue, so that I stay exactly where in place, but that's a pretty good curve right there. Some paint, you would never know. So let's get some glue. Primer coat on, and look at how good this one looks. I love it all coming together. I've already put some layers on the parts that I'm going to paint metallic finish with just some white glue to give it texture, to make it look sort of like hammered metal. So now we are on to final paints. I had a good plan. I had started painting and I had this interesting green color, which is called matcha green. I really liked it, and my compressor died. So instead, we have this custom mixed color that we're gonna get as close to that as we can and go from there. The legs are already painted at least one coat, so we'll start with the body for everything else. I was really enjoying the airbrush, but what are you gonna do? I like that color, it'll age well. If anybody has any compressor recommendations for airbrush, I'm definitely interested. Please let me know, as I need to be shopping for a new one immediately. Admittedly, things didn't go entirely to plan, but I love the color scheme that we got going here. I think it looks so cool. It really works with the navy sparkling eyes. Got a little pop of yellow in here. I think this looks awesome. So now, all I need to do is age it up. I'm going to take a little Vallejo rust. I've got some other tans and browns and burnt sienna. That was burgundy, not the one I want, which will help rust up everything. So let's start doing that.